A very warm welcome to the Gavel. I am Lanre Lasese. Now, ordinarily, this should have been a quiet week following the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo for a second term. While the government chose to do a low-key ceremony, the National Assembly decided to carry on with legislative work as usual. The lawmakers only sat on Tuesday and Thursday, as Wednesday was a public holiday set aside for the inauguration. So, what were the lawmakers able to achieve in the 2 days under consideration? Well, that will be the major focus of the program today. We have a report on the reactions that has trailed the comments made by President Muhammadu Buhari while giving his assent to the 2019 budget. We also had a chat with a public affairs analyst who gave suggestions on how the budgeting process can be improved. Let's start with the report on the lawmakers' reactions to the signing of the 2019 budget.
On the 28th of May 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari signed the 2019 Appropriation Act. In his speech during the signing process, the president raised concerns over some issues in the budget returned to him by the National Assembly.
This is an increase of 90.33 billion naira over our submission. This increase reflects changes introduced by the National Assembly. There were also certain areas where new additions were introduced into the budget. Some of these changes will adversely impact our programs, making it difficult for us to achieve the objectives of the economic recovery and the growth plan.
The president also outlines plans to work with the incoming 9th National Assembly on the country's budgetary process.
I will therefore be engaging with the leadership of the 9th National Assembly as soon as they emerge to address some of our concerns with the budget. We will also look at how to improve the budget process so that, among other things, we can speed up budget consideration processes and return the country to the January to December fiscal year timetable.
In reaction to the president's statement, federal lawmakers insist that the legislature was simply doing its job.
If we go through budgets that have been presented before us and we see discrepancies or the need for increment or adjustment, we have to do it because that is what we are elected to do. But if you present a budget before us and on a certain benchmark for, let's say, price of crude oil, and 2-3 months within that period when the budget is with us, there are issues that have arisen to challenge those facts, and then adjustment need to be made.
We cannot just call them additions. What and what we had added? One was the policy of 1% of budget for the enablement of the implementation of the National Policy on Health, which will attract more funds from UN global organizations.
We believe that the president is particularly concerned about programs relating to social investment program as well as security. And if you look at the details of the budget, the Parliament was careful in treating those critical items. The Parliament considered security as topmost and paramount, and the social investment program of the government, particularly because the ERGP was a document that was adopted and approved by the Parliament. So the Parliament took pains to ensure that the policies were in line with realizing the goals of that ERGP.
There's so many things that may affect the implementation of the budget, and I do not think that it is the insertions, in their words, into the national budget by the National Assembly. Everybody has said it, and we all know it, that the GDP growth of Nigeria is 1.9%, give or take. And so this budget was actually made premised upon wrong figures from the beginning. But if you go to the fact that the National Assembly made additions into the national budget, the National Assembly is well within its rights to do that, because that is what, and this matter has gone before the Court of Law for interpretation, and again, it was stated that the National Assembly is not a rubber stamp.
They proffer solutions to a better budgeting process.
There was a piece of legislation that was brought before the National Assembly. I was forwarded to Mr. President for assent that will give us 3 months, that the budget must be brought 3 months prior to the end of the fiscal year, and it was declined assent. So I'm believing that when Mr. President says, and this is you asking me a question to imagine what Mr. President is thinking, but what I'm hoping that Mr. President is saying is that maybe when that bill is represented before Mr. President will actually accede to that bill, and he would realize that the National Assembly is as desirous as he is of ensuring that the budget cycle, the life of the budget, is within the 12-year period.
What needs to be done is that they should be preparing like before the month of August to submit their proposal for, say, the 2020 budget. Because before the defense comes, and the process of defense, the process goes back and forth and everything, my own experience in the National Assembly that this takes practically nothing less than three months. Not even factoring holidays and public holidays and vacations within the period. So you need a full 2-3 months of work to do an effective job. So the earlier you bring the proposal, and the better for the process.
Now, these documents are supposed to be discussed thoroughly between the executive and the parliament, and both arms of government are supposed to be on agreement in producing the medium-term expenditure framework, which eventually is the source document that would be used to prepare a budget.
If you have a Ministry of Foreign Affairs that is preparing its budget, it is important that it consults with the Senate and House Committee on Foreign Affairs. If you have a Ministry of Health or Transport or Education that is preparing a budget, they should make a time to consult with the relevant committees even before this budget they take it to Mr. President.